For those that continue to seek improper and illegal entry into this country, be forewarned. This is a new era. This is the Trump era. The lawlessness, the abdication of duty to enforce our laws, and the catch and release policies of the past are over.
All right, on any other day, this would be the lead story item here. The Attorney General of the United States along the Arizona-Mexico border to say, look, we apprehend people. We're not going to let them go. And you sanctuary cities, states that have another idea, we're not going to let go of you either. There are laws on the books here, and we are looking after the rights of protected U.S. citizens and not illegals that oftentimes are just released soon after being taken in. Reaction now from Pima County, Arizona Sheriff Mark Napier. Sheriff, what did you make of that?
Well, thank you for having me on, Neil. It's gratifying to hear more attention being given by the federal government and more thoughtful attention given to the issues surrounding criminal activity and illegal immigration. My county has a 125-mile exposure to the international border, and so public safety and the crime associated with illegal immigration is paramount to the people in my county and to the safety, especially of ranchers in rural areas, many of which are afraid to go out and ride their own fence lines because of the criminal activity coming across the border. So we welcome additional attention to this issue.
Now, what does he mean, Sheriff? And maybe you can explain the process now. Let's say you round up illegals, and then you turn them over to ICE or whatever happens. I don't know the exact order of procedure, but they're invariably let go or they get away. The message I think I heard out of the Attorney General is that stops. So my question is, where are they going to stay? Illegals who you apprehend or working in concert with ICE, what happens?
Well, that's a very good question, Neil. What generally happens is when one of our officers out doing the work of the deputies do come across somebody they believe to be in this country without proper documentation, they will turn that person over to Border Patrol. What I've heard from my federal partners is that there had been a decreased emphasis on upholding the rule of the law on the federal part due to direction provided by the prior administration. So there was kind of a catch and release. We would catch the person, we would turn them over to Border Patrol, and subsequently they would be released. And I think what they're saying is that's going to stop. Where they're housing these federal prisoners, it certainly would not be in my jail. I have space for about 2,000 people in my jail, and this morning we have about 1,850 in there. So we don't have additional capacity to store federal prisoners. It's really not the role of the Pima County Sheriff's Department to store federal prisoners on immigration violations for any length of time. It shouldn't be an expense shouldered by the taxpayers of Pima County.
You know, Sheriff, we're at, I think, 16 or 17-year lows about the number of illegal, particularly criminals who are getting into this country. Many say it's in response to President Trump and his tough talk, illustrated today with what General Sessions was saying. What do you think is going on here? Or is it that a lot of illegals just don't look at it as worth the trouble?
Well, I think there's clearly, Neil, there's increased emphasis under the current administration providing more resources on our southern Arizona border, and the idea of crossing the border is becoming less attractive because the possibility that you're going to be caught and then dealt with more severely by the federal government is increased. But, Neil, we really have to balance this with the approach to Mexico's a great trading partner to the state of Arizona to the tune of about $9 billion a year. So we have to strike that balance between a welcoming trade partner and dealing with criminality associated with illegal immigration. They're not exactly the same thing, and it is about $9 billion a year to Arizona on transnational trade. So yeah, we've got to remember we have friends and partners in Mexico, but we have to deal with this criminal element at the same time.
Do you think we still need the wall?
Well, I think the wall, Neil, is an analogous term. I think there are places where a physical barrier makes perfect sense, and that is an absolutely good approach to certain areas. There are other areas that will lend themselves to technology and human resources. So I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all solution here. There are 4 border sheriffs, myself, and then 3 others, and each of our counties have unique features, both with respect to topography and where the international border actually falls within our counties. So I don't think you can take a one-size-fits-all approach, but I think looking at a wall as an analogous term makes perfect sense. We want an impenetrable barrier. And the other thing folks don't realize is that about 150 people a year die in the deserts of western Pima County. And that's a human rights issue. And when we tacitly encourage, because of a lack of action in securing the border, these people to make this arduous journey, it's 90 degrees in Tucson today, and people come across the border, might walk 60 or 70 miles, and really they're here to try to better their life and all those things, but the people are dying in the desert, and it's because of the inaction of the federal government not to secure the border and not to make a more sensible approach to our immigration policies.
I want to thank you, Sheriff. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Neil.